Hi children, I am going to continue the lesson. Now let us see first what we learnt in the first two parts of the lesson. We learnt about the use of forests and also the use of forest during the British rules and forest department setting up of and some of the Adivasis revolts like Birsa Munda revolt, Santal revolt, Kumaon revolt, Allur Sita Raju revolt and Komaram Bhim revolt. And we learnt about the British government's industrial policies and how they affected the Indian industries and how the industries in India were developed during the time of First World War and Second World War. What were the reasons for this we learnt. And problems of Indian industry at the time of independence we learnt. And the setting up of industries in India and laborers in Indian industries and their struggles. We have started yesterday. Now let us continue the lesson. Now let us see the working conditions under which the labor had to work. First of all, the labor had to work from dawn to dusk, from morning to evening without any stop, without any break they had to work, without any break even for meals. And they had to ask their fellow laborers to look after their work and then they were supposed to go for meals. And only when it gets dark and nothing can be seen, they used to stop the work. There were no holidays, not even a weekly holiday for the labor. And in case of absence of the labor, for any reason, if the labor was absent, the day's wages were cut. And even if they were late, some part of their wages were cut. And payment of wages was made according to the goods produced. Seeing to the goods produced in the factory, payment of wages was made. There were no fixed payments to the labor. It was made according to the goods produced. As much as you produce, so much you will be paid. This was the rule of the owners. For the fault of the machines or short supply of raw materials, the wages of the laborer were deducted. Though it was not the fault of the laborer, their wages were deducted, and thus they were not able to receive any fixed income each month. And also at the end of the month, the owner used to keep some part of their wages with him. Do you know why he used to keep it like this? And only the remaining amount was paid to the laborer. Some part of the wages was kept with the owner and the remaining part was only paid to the laborer. And this was because of the fear that the laborer may leave the factory at any time. If he is not satisfied with his working conditions or with his wages, he may leave the factory. So, to keep him working in the factory, they used to keep some part of their wages with the owners. And if their wages are with the owner, they will never think of leaving the factory. And for each and everything, fines were imposed by the owner. If they were late, if the cloth gets spoiled due to the fault of the machines also, for all these wages were cut from the laborers. Now all the laborers, including men, women and children, had to work under such poor conditions for 14 hours a day in summer and 12 hours in winter. 14 hours a day in summer and 12 hours in winter, because in winter it gets dark early in winter, so it was reduced to 12 hours. And in 1880, electric bulbs were fitted in the factories. And with this, the problem of getting dark early was also solved for the owners. Now, working hours during winter were also increased. With the introduction of bulbs, working hours were increased to 15 hours a day. And in spite of doing labor under all such hardships, there was no security of job. Though they worked under such hardships and such worst conditions, there was no security of job for them. If the factory was at little loss also, many of the workers were thrown out of their jobs. And even those who were allowed to continue, their wages were reduced by the owner. And if the factory earns profits, the laborers were never given any bonus, but if it was at loss, they used to lose their jobs. Now let us see about some of the labor struggles. From 1870 onwards, there were many strikes one after another in Bombay against these oppressive working conditions. 1870 onwards, the laborers, they started strikes against such oppressive conditions. And in those days, there were no organizations or labor unions to fight for their rights. If there are unions, they will fight on behalf of the workers. But there were no labor unions or organizations during that time. The laborers of all the mills, they used to get together and to go on a strike, putting pressure on the owners. For example, in 1892, mill owners of Mumbai thought of reducing the wages of laborers. In one of the mills in Mumbai, the mill owners thought of reducing the wages of laborers. And then laborers of all the mills, they came together to strike work. To strike work means to stop work. If all the laborers strike work, there will be no production and the mill owner will be at loss. And thus, to save himself from the losses, the owners accept to fulfill the demands of the workers. And most of the laborers belong to common castes, common villages, so they can easily unite themselves against the owners and put forth their demands. And they can bring pressure on the mill owners. Though there were no labor unions in those days, laborers struggled like this by uniting themselves against the mill owners. Now let us see one example. How the laborers struggled to protect their own interests. For example, in 1901, some 20 mills of Mumbai, they reduced the laborers' wages. By 12.5% their wages were reduced by the 20 mill owners. And as a response to this, 20,000 mill workers, they stopped their work and came out on strike. They came out onto the street, they stopped their work and they started a strike. And all the 20 mills remained closed for 10 days. Now you can imagine what may be the loss for the owners of the mills. And similarly, in 1919, when the cost of living was rising, but the laborers' wages were not increased by the owners. The cost of living was increasing. That means the cost of all the goods was increasing. But the laborers' wages were not increased on par with the cost of living. So the laborers of all the mills of Mumbai, they came out on strike and the mills were closed for 12 days. In 1919 also. And again there was a loss for the owners. And if they experience such losses, they immediately accept the demands of the laborers. And the laborers not only fought for their wages like this, they also fought against the British for the freedom of India. They also took an active part in the freedom struggle of India. Do you know how they took an active part? In 1908, the British sentenced the famous Indian freedom fighter Lokmanya Tilak. Bal Gangadhar Tilak is there, no? He wrote 2 books. You might be knowing about this. Kesari and Maratha. These 2 books were written by Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. And in the book Kesari, he supported the revolutionaries in Punjab. And for supporting those revolutionaries, he was sentenced to 6 years of exile from India. And when he was sentenced to 6 years of exile from India, all the laborers of all the mills of Mumbai, they went on strike against this for 6 days. They stopped their work, supporting Lokmanya Tilak. That means they took an active part in the freedom struggle also. When Tilak was exiled for 6 years for writing or for supporting the revolutionaries in Punjab in his book Kesari, immediately the laborers of all the mills of Bombay, they went on strike against this for 6 days. And in this way the laborers, they took part in the freedom struggle. On many occasions through strikes, they took part in the freedom struggle also. Now addressing the laborers' problems. During the early years of industrial development, most of the educated people of India did not pay attention to the problems of the laborers or to improve their working conditions. They only thought of how best the industries could be developed in India. That was only their motive. They never paid any attention to their problems or to solve their problems or to improve their working conditions. And here is another amazing fact. Factory owners, traders and social workers in Britain, they had a great concern over the worst working conditions of the Indian laborers in India. The social workers and traders and factory owners in Britain, they had a great concern for the working conditions of the Indian laborers in India. And they brought pressure on the British government to improve the working conditions immediately. But the industrial workers and social workers of Britain, they put pressure on the government to make laws to improve the conditions of the laborers in India. And as a result of this, the working hours of the laborers in India were reduced. And some holidays were also granted to them. Because so far they were not granted any holidays without any break. They had to work all through the year, and also working hours are more. So their working hours were reduced, and also some holidays were granted to them. See the fun here. It was seriously opposed by the industrialists and the educated people in India. When some favor was done to the laborers in India by the British government, it was opposed by the industrialists and educated people in India. Do you know the reason for this? They felt that once facilities like reducing working hours and giving fixed incomes, granting them leaves, paid leaves or paid holidays, these are given to the laborers once, mill production will decrease. Once the laborers get used to these holidays or fixed incomes and all, the mill production will decrease. Because they'll be going on holidays, they'll be going on leaves, so the production will decrease. And expenses of the owners will increase. And when the production decreases, the expenses of the owners will increase. He has to invest more. And this all will lead to increase in the cost of the products produced. So because the mill owner will not pay from his pocket, what he will do? If his expenses are increasing, he will add it to the cost of the products. So there will be an increase in the cost of the products produced. And in such a case, British goods imported from Britain will be cheaper, and all will prefer buying British goods only. And the market for Indian goods will decline. And industrial development in India will come to a standstill. This was the opinion of the Indian industrialists. So they opposed this industrial policy introduced by the British government. Now, 3 factory acts were passed by the British government at that time. Now let us see what are the provisions of this act. The British government implemented the first factory act in 1881. It was passed by the government, and the following were the provisions of the act. Children below the age of 7 cannot be employed in factories. According to this first factory act, children below the age of 7 cannot be employed in factories. And the second provision was children between 7 and 12 years of age, they cannot be made to work for more than 9 hours a day. That means their working hours should be limited to only 9 hours per day. And they must be given a 1 hour break each day. Because now they are working without any break. So they must be given break of 1 hour each day. They must also be given 4 days leave each month. Per month they should be given 4 days leave. These were the provisions of the first factory act. Because the children were it is the tender age at which they are working in the factories to supplement the family's income. So the first factory act was made for the children, for the welfare of the children. The first factory act was made because they were tender in age, and in spite of their difficulties and their tender age, they were working in the factories to supplement the family's income. So the first factory act was made for the sake of the children, for the welfare of the children. Now let us see the second factory act. In 1891, the second factory act was passed, and it was for the welfare of the women laborers. The second act was found for the women. Women laborers cannot be made to work more than 11 hours a day. Their working hours were restricted to 11 hours. Before they were working for 15 hours a day. Now they were reduced to 11 hours a day according to this act. And women laborers must be given 1.5 hours break each day. And children's working hours were reduced from 9 to 7 hours. According to this act, again, the children's working hours were reduced from 9 to 7 hours. Before first factory act made their working hours 9 hours. Now, these working hours were still reduced to 7 hours a day. And factory employers were forbidden to employ children below 9 years of age. They were not supposed to employ children who were below 9 years of age. These are the provisions of First and the second Factory Act. Now let us see the third Factory Act, which was made for the welfare of the men laborers. The largest number of laborers in industries was that of men. Men were in large number, they were employed in factories. And it was not until 1911 that laws for their welfare were made. In 1911, the Factory Act was passed by the British government and it was for the welfare of the male laborers. And according to the Factory Act of 1911, the provisions were adult male laborers could not be made to work for more than 12 hours every day. Their working hours were restricted to 12 hours. They should not be made to work more than 12 hours a day. And after every 6 hours of work, there should be a break for half an hour for the male laborers. These are the two important provisions of the third Factory Act, which was made for the welfare of the men laborers. Now, Indian industrialists, they felt that the British industrialists were just acting to show concern for the Indian laborers. When the Indian industrialists and the other educated people in Britain, they showed their concern for the Indian laborers and they brought pressure on the British government to make some laws in favor of these Indian laborers in India and also to pass some laws to that effect. The Indian industrialists felt that the British industrialists were just acting to show some concern for the Indian laborers. Behind this also, they had their own interests. This was the feeling of Indian industrialists. And the educated people in India also believed that if laws favorable to the Indian laborers are made and providing them all the facilities, reducing their working hours, giving them fixed incomes every month, holidays, paid leaves, etc., the Indian industries will never develop. And here is an example of few lines which were published in a major newspaper of Bengal. That shows in 1875 these lines were published in a major newspaper of Bengal and which clearly shows how the people used to think in those days. That means what was their opinion regarding the development of industries and the working conditions of the laborer, problems of the laborer. See, the lines say that rather than this new industry be destroyed, it's better that laborers keep dying in large numbers. Once industries are well developed and well established, then we can protect the interests of the laborers. I hope you understood it. Let me explain it. Due to the worst working conditions or more working hours, etc., even if the laborers die in large number, it's not a problem. First, the industry should develop well, and then the problems of the laborer could be solved easily and they can be protected. That is the meaning of that statement given in the newspaper. It shows how the people felt in those days. That means the development of industries was more important for them than the welfare of the laborers. But this fear in the minds of the educated people and the industrialists was not fully justified. And industrialists, many factories were set up in India and started functioning and earning profits also. And at the same time, we cannot deny the fact that the development of industries lies in the hands of the laborers only. If there are no laborers, there is no production. We cannot think of any industry without laborers. So the development of industries lies in the hands of the laborers only. So the problems faced by the laborers are all relevant only. Now, labor organizations. In course of time, all the educated people became familiar with the problems of laborers. Many articles were published in the newspapers. Many small organizations sprang up. They came into existence for the welfare of the laborers, to struggle for the welfare of the laborers, and started functioning also. And during strikes, the laborers formed into labor unions to go on strike. They came together to go on strike. And to negotiate talks with the mill owners, they came together. And slowly, trade unions were started to be formed for the welfare of the workers. And one important such union was Gidni Kamgar Union. You have to remember, there are two important unions. You have to remember the names of both the unions. One important such union was Gidni Kamgar Union. And with the help of this union, the workers in Mumbai, they went on a strike in 1928. And in Ahmedabad, under the influence of Gandhiji, a powerful union was formed. And the name of this union was Mazdoor Mahajan. Under the influence of Gandhiji, a powerful union was formed known as Mazdoor Mahajan. And after the trade unions started to be formed, the government started making laws to impose restrictions on strikes. When they were starting forming into trade unions, it was obvious that they will fight for their rights. The union will fight for the rights of the labor. So immediately the government started to make laws to impose restrictions on the strikes. And also the government appointed labor officers to look after the welfare of the laborers. And the government tried to ensure that laborers solve their problems, if any, through these labor officers. If they have any problem, they can approach the labor officers and they used to solve the problems of the laborers rather than fighting through unions. And but the laborers did not agree to this, and they wanted their own organizations and unions to protect their interests. The government wanted the laborers to solve their problems through labor officers who were appointed by the government. Especially for this purpose only the labor officers were appointed. Instead of fighting through union, the laborers, they can approach the labor officers and they can get their problems solved. But it was not acceptable to the laborers. Laborers did not agree to this. They wanted their own organizations and unions, labor unions, to protect their interests. And thus, it became an issue of conflict between the government and the laborers regarding the right to form unions and right to go on strike. These were the two issues of clashes between the laborers and the government. Of course, in course of time, that is in later years, these rights were also granted to the laborers. Now, they are free to form into labor unions and these labor unions are fighting for their rights. Everything is going on perfectly now. But in those days, we have seen how the laborers struggled to get their rights from the owners. Now the lesson is over. I am giving you homework as usual. Read full lesson, underlining all the important points and complete the blanks in the material. And first you complete the blanks and when I send you the key, you can compare your answers.